On the eve of my wedding with Adrian, my private investigator sent me a stack of photographs. The background of the photos was Disneyland. Adrian, who had always been rigid and conservative, was wearing a Linna Bell headband, squatting down to tie the shoelaces for a pink-haired delinquent girl. After viewing the photos, I calmly called Adrian. "If you have fallen in love with someone else, our arranged marriage can be annulled." After a long silence, Adrian finally spoke. "I will give her a sum of money and send her abroad. She will not affect our two families." The wedding proceeded as scheduled. However, on the wedding day, just as I was about to say I do, the delinquent girl rode in on a modified motorcycle and burst into the venue. She held a knife to her neck. "Adrian, if you dare marry her today, watch as I and the child end our lives together." He stared intently at the bleeding neck of the delinquent girl, his eyes filled with pain and reluctance. I silently removed the 10-carat diamond ring I had just put on and threw it into the lake. "Go with her, it would be unfortunate if lives were lost." "Serena, trust me," Adrian shouted suddenly, his eyes still brimming with tenderness for the girl. "The one I truly like and want to marry is only you. My involvement with her was just an accident, but after all, she is pregnant with my child. I do not want any loss of life at the wedding. Can you wait for me?" After saying this, under the astonished gazes of all the guests, he grabbed Roxy's hand and walked out without looking back. As they passed by me, Roxy smugly lifted her chin and flashed me a smile. I slowly removed my veil. Everyone has seen it. It was Adrian who betrayed me first. Since the groom has fled, the wedding. "Serena." Vivian suddenly lunged forward and grabbed my arm, her face feigning affection. "Didn't Adrian just say he loves you and wants to marry you? Just wait for him, he will be back soon." Harold, standing nearby, quickly chimed in. Yes, you and Adrian have been childhood sweethearts for so many years, and now that you're about to get married, are you really going to give up at this juncture?" "Rest assured, Adrian will handle it properly." At that moment, my brother sneered. "Handle it? How? By aborting the child in that woman's belly? Or by making my sister tolerate him keeping a mistress and an illegitimate child outside? When he was trembling on top of another woman, did he not think about being childhood sweethearts with my sister and about to get married? Now you want my sister to compromise and yield. Do you deserve that? From a young age, my brother and I lost our parents. He raised me like both a father and a mother, and through sheer determination and starting from nothing, he became the richest person in the capital city. When I was young, my brother was busy with work and had no time to accompany me, which shaped my solitary and reticent personality. I was often bullied by classmates at school, and it was Adrian who stepped forward to protect me. Thus, he became my childhood sweetheart and fiancé. The Fu family thereby connected with my brother's network and thrived in the capital city. The surrounding guests began to whisper among themselves, "Miss Serena usually appears so aloof and ethereal, yet she was outdone by a delinquent girl." In my opinion, these wealthy families are all just putting on a show. They act so loving in front of the media, but behind the scenes, they all engage in affairs. I could not help but feel dazed. Were all of Adrian's past kindnesses toward me merely an act? From childhood to adulthood, Adrian always prioritized me. When I had a cold or fever, he would cancel important project meetings and stay by my bedside for 3 days and nights. When I casually mentioned that roses are beautiful, he created a rose garden for me in the capital city's prime real estate. But later, on our 10th anniversary date, he received a phone call and stammered that a client needed him. On the day we scheduled to take wedding photos, he was smiling and holding my waist one moment, but the next, upon seeing a photo on Facebook, his face changed drastically, and he nervously said a friend had slit their wrists and was in the hospital. On the drive home, I saw him at an arcade playing games with a pink-haired girl. They were laughing and chatting, he had his arm around her shoulders, and they were sharing the same ice cream. Because I could not believe Adrian would betray me, I hired a private investigator to check. The results confirmed it. Seeing that my brother and I were angry, the Fu family finally panicked. Harold repeatedly apologized to me with a bitter expression. "Serena, men, once they have money, they easily get confused. Which family's man doesn't make some mistakes?" Adrian was just being playful for a moment, his heart is still with you. I raised an eyebrow and sneered, which family's man doesn't make some mistakes? It seems the Fu family's upbringing is like that, with the upper beam not straight and the lower beam crooked. My insinuating sarcasm made Harold's face stiffen instantly. But in front of my brother, he dared not assume an elder's stance to lecture me, only meaningfully reminding, Serena, consider the bigger picture. Our two families have been linked for so many years, must you make it a lose-lose situation to be satisfied? I did not know where he got the audacity to say such things. You still expect a mutual destruction with the Qing family? Over these many years, almost all of the Fu family's company projects were brought to them by my brother out of consideration for the in-law relationship. To ensure I would have a good life in my future in-law's home, the benefits were always prioritized for the Fu family. Could it be that because of this, they developed the illusion that the Qing family was equally inseparable from them, which made Adrian so bold as to bring a delinquent girl on a modified motorcycle to the wedding to trample over me and act arrogantly? Harold's face immediately stiffened. My brother snorted coldly, from today onward, the marriage agreement between the Qing and Fu families is nullified. You all, take care of yourselves. My brother gripped my hand and strode out of the wedding venue. Adrian's parents were greatly alarmed and chased after us relentlessly. Because the hotel floor was too slippery and Vivian was wearing high heels, she fell embarrassingly. Harold chased after my brother and my car, continuously pleading and banging on the window glass, running like a dog for several hundred meters. Inside the car, my brother glanced at my appearance through the rearview mirror and softly sighed in consolation. Now that no one is around, if you want to cry, just cry. I propped up my red, swollen, and sore eyes, shook my head, and took a deep breath. I'm fine. Your sister isn't some love-obsessed fool. As for men, if this one is gone, the next one will be better. From a young age, I grew up under my brother's elite education. Our siblings have weathered storms together for so many years, facing life and death situations several times where we nearly lost our lives. Compared to my past experiences and the path I have ahead, Adrian and his love are truly insignificant. I originally intended to turn the page on this, but unexpectedly, some people refused to let it go. Early the next morning, my and Adrian's names were trending. That pink-haired delinquent Roxy was sitting on the rooftop of a 35-story building, live-streaming while dangling her legs. Adrian, I really like you. If you have to marry that woman, I'll sacrifice my life and the child's to fulfill you. On the other side, Adrian was looking up and roaring, resembling a tragic male lead from a Qiangyao drama. Roxy, only by your side can I be my true self. I shouldn't have been trapped in that damned marriage agreement. From now on, even if it means opposing the whole world, I want to be with you. Roxy tagged her live stream with Pure Love Warrior and Martyr for Love. In the comments section, various netizens were moved and empathized. Oh my god, what a bittersweet couple. What era is this, still arranging marriages? The Qing family is bullying others with their power, it's disgusting. I tightened my grip on the phone, nearly crushing the screen. It seemed Adrian had made his choice, the two of them were singing in harmony, whitewashing themselves and shifting the blame. The next moment, my brother's figure burst into the live stream. He said sarcastically, I wonder how many months Miss Roxy has been pregnant? My brother deliberately emphasized the word pregnant. Did you know Adrian has been engaged for a year? May I ask if interfering in someone else's marriage is something you're particularly proud of as a delinquent? These words were like cannonballs, shattering the beautifully embellished love between Roxy and Adrian. On the live stream barrage, people began to criticize the two of them. Roxy was ultimately young. Although she had been a delinquent for a few years, her psychological defenses were still weak. Watching the scrolling comments calling her a mistress, she bit her lip in fear, her eyes reddening. Adrian, heartbroken, quickly defended her. Although Roxy and I haven't known each other long, it's true love with soul compatibility. She is open and passionate, only by her side do I feel happy. My brother sked, even more disdainful. Then I ask you, since you fell for another woman, why didn't you tell my sister earlier? My brother's voice was low, yet every word came through clearly in the live stream. It was clearly you who begged my sister to marry, unwilling to give up the resources provided by our Chung family, yet you dared to get involved with a delinquent behind her back. Adrian, how can a person be so shameless? The live stream exploded even more. Exactly, what true love are you whitewashing? Falling in love with another woman and having a child while having a fiancé, isn't that just cheating? With Miss Serena's conditions, forget about staying chaste, I'd be willing to be her dog. Seeing the public opinion turning against them, Adrian could no longer care about anything else. He snatched Roxy's live stream camera and shouted loudly, "It was Serena who clung desperately, she threatened suicide, which is why I didn't dare to break off the engagement." He glared at the live stream lens, as if declaring war on me. "Serena, do you see this? The person I choose now is Roxy. I will protect my lover and child at all costs." I rolled my eyes. Engaging in a public feud with such a person would be beneath me. So I called my brother back and released the video from yesterday's wedding. Accompanied by a bold caption, "Engagement dissolved, drama queens, have some self-respect." The surveillance footage clearly showed Roxy riding in on a modified motorcycle with a knife, forcing Adrian to leave the wedding with her. It also showed Adrian repeatedly saying he loved me and begging to marry me. In the live stream, netizens completely turned against them, flooding the screen. "Crazy man and woman, Miss Serena has already dissolved the engagement to fulfill you too. Now pretending to be victims in a self-directed act and splashing dirty water on the Chung family? Lock the scumbag and delinquent together. Don't harm the innocent fiancé, Miss Serena is the real victim. Wasn't this Roxy going to jump off the building? Why hasn't she jumped?" Watching the screen flooded with comments urging her to jump quickly, Roxy panicked and stammered, "Miss Serena, hiding my affair with Adrian from you for so long was our fault. But the Chung family has immense power, we did it for self-preservation." As she spoke, she manipulatively added, "Don't you know how domineering you are? Adrian told me before that in front of you siblings, he didn't dare say a single wrong word. When I met him, he had severe depression." I laughed. Previously, Adrian was thriving with the Chung family, full of vigor and ambition. How did I not know he had any depression? Just as I was about to refute, Adrian's message came through. "Serena, I beg you, don't argue online anymore, okay? I can't abandon Roxy and the child, but my parents said they're afraid this matter spreading would harm the family's reputation. They want us to handle it ourselves, and only after cleaning it up will they agree to us being together. For the sake of our many years as childhood sweethearts, help me." I pressed my chest and took a deep breath. So, yesterday Adrian said he wanted to marry me and asked me to wait for him. What he really wanted to handle wasn't Roxy, but to string me along? And his way of handling it was to stab me in the back while using our past affection to emotionally blackmail me into not minding? I replied faintly, "What if I'm unwilling?" Almost instantly, Adrian's response turned menacing, "Then wait and regret it." That same day, the Fu family broke ground on a construction site. That plot was originally our Chung family's ancestral grave. Adrian had patted his chest guaranteeing that, as the future son-in-law, he wanted to renovate the ancestral grave to show his dedication to the Chung family. Only then did my brother transfer that land and the related project qualifications to his name. But he acted completely out of character, actually intending to excavate our family's ancestral grave. The butler rushed in hurriedly and handed me the video on his phone. "Miss, something's wrong. The master has already rushed to the Fu family's construction site." In the video, my brother gazed at the devastated ancestral grave that had been dug up, nearly fainting from anger. Adrian snarled viciously, "This is what you forced me to do. Not only will I dig up your family's ancestral grave, but I'll build a temple on it to suppress your entire family for eternity." My brother, overcome with rage, punched him. Adrian wiped the blood from his mouth and hummed triumphantly, "Hit me, for every punch you land, I'll have one more of your ancestral graves dug up. The land and qualifications are in my hands, even with your immense power, what can you do?" My brother had already been sleepless for several days due to the Fu family matters. Overwhelmed by a surge of blood to the head, he fainted straight away. By the time I arrived at the scene, even the incoming ambulance was blocked outside. Inside the site, my brother lay unconscious on the ground, his complexion worsening. Adrian personally drove an excavator to block the narrow entrance, preventing medical personnel from entering. This land is now mine, without my permission, no one steps in. Fury rose in my heart, and I rushed in front of his bucket. Adrian, without my brother, would you and the Fu family have what you have today? One cannot repay kindness with enmity. Adrian was previously just a greenhorn. It was my brother who took him to meet clients, work on projects, promoted and guided him everywhere, treating him like family. But now, he only pulled a venomous sneer. Who told him to hit me? Who told him to embarrass Roxy in front of so many people? Want to save Marcus? It's not impossible. I've already sent someone to pick up Roxy. You start a live stream later, kneel and apologize to me and Roxy, and promise not to trouble us in the future. My nails dug into my flesh, my reddened eyes bursting with anger and killing intent. Adrian, this is your own death wish. I directly made a phone call and dispatched a super heavy crane from a nearby site, hoisting Adrian along with his cab into the air. Adrian had acrophobia, and instantly, distorted screams came from the cab. Serena! Are you insane? Do you know what you're doing? Once you're gone, I'll dig your ancestral grave to smithereens. I sneered again, is that so? Then I'll have to see about that. At that moment, Roxy also arrived hurriedly, dressed up as if truly prepared for me to kneel and apologize. In front of everyone, I coldly declared within 7 days, I will ensure the Fu family is completely eradicated from the capital city. I quickly sent my brother to the hospital. Fortunately, he was young with a strong constitution, he survived after a craniotomy. In the ward, with red eyes, I held my brother's hand. Brother, wait for me, I will definitely not let them go. My brother weakly patted my hand. I trust you to handle things. I've already notified others. Just go ahead and do it. After leaving the hospital, I utilized some connections. Soon, an ancient tomb was suspected to be discovered in the Fu family's construction area, and official documents required a halt to work until professional archaeologists conducted on-site surveys. The entire process would take at least 3 months. Afterward, I hosted a business banquet in the name of the Qing family. I invited all clients who usually cooperated with the Qing and Fu families, assigning them projects that were previously intended for the Fu family. Naturally, they were eager to share in this bounty. To pledge allegiance, without waiting for my cue, they unanimously cancelled their collaborations with the Fu family. I did not expect Adrian's parents to attend that banquet. Seeing the lucrative opportunities they had in hand turn to others, they were both heartbroken and panicked. Vivian even held my hand, removing the jade bracelet from her own wrist and attempting to put it on mine. Serena, you will always be our daughter-in-law, we have not agreed to let that delinquent enter our door. This jade bracelet symbolizes the status of the Fu family's young madam. I now publicly hand it to you, and from now on, we are truly family. As for that woman. An unnatural expression flashed across Vivian's face. We plan to have her give birth to the child. Didn't you always say you feared childbirth would ruin your figure and affect your career? After the child is born, it will be registered under your name, recognizing you as the mother. We will send that woman abroad, ensuring she never bothers you. I deliberately glanced at Adrian's reaction. Although his expression was displeased, he did not voice any opposition. It seemed he was truly afraid. I abruptly shook off Vivian's hand. I'm sorry, Aunt. Compared to being the Fu family's young madam, I prefer being the Qing family's eldest miss. Why not give the bracelet to Roxy instead? After all, she covets the position of your family's young madam and is just waiting for you and uncle to nod and allow her and the child to enter. Adrian's parents' faces turned as ugly as liver. Adrian could no longer hold back and immediately jumped out babbling, Serena. Don't be shameless when given face. What is your status? What is my mother's status? Is this how you speak to elders? I let out a puzzled ah, drawing out the tone. The engagement is dissolved. What do you say my status is now? Then what is your status, daring to yell at me at my banquet? I signaled the bodyguards to escort their family out. Adrian's parents became anxious, pleading relentlessly, "Serena, don't be angry, this kid is being foolish. We'll discipline him right now and make him apologize to you." But the West City dock project we discussed before. At that moment, a client interjected, "The West City dock project? Miss Serena just signed the contract with our company." Vivian's eyes widened in disbelief. After all, the Fu Group's development focus for the second half of the year was entirely on that project. That dock was also a symbol of the union between our Qing and Fu families. Once completed, it would generate doubled profits effortlessly. Adrian was even more unwilling. "Serena, on what grounds? That project clearly." I raised an eyebrow and OE'd, countering, "Clearly what?" Harold, struck hard, coughed heavily several times and said heartbrokenly, "Serena, that project was clearly for our Fu family, a symbol of our two families' union. How can business matters be treated like child's play? How can you casually give it to others?" I OE'd puzzledly again, "A symbol of the union? But now, isn't the engagement gone? What union is there? You say the project was for the Fu family, was a contract signed?" Adrian previously vowed to help renovate our family's ancestral grave, but instead, taking advantage of my brother transferring the land and project to him, he started work and dug up our ancestral grave. What did my sibling and I say? After saying this, I fixed my gaze on Adrian and faintly declared, "Adrian, if you can't afford to play, don't play. Losing and then throwing tantrums is really unsightly." Hearing this, Adrian was both ashamed and angry, trembling all over. With reddened eyes, he clenched his fists. "Serena, do you know I hate this superior attitude of yours? It's true the Fu family developed relying on you, but that doesn't mean I, Adrian, have to wag my tail and beg like a dog in front of you siblings. Do you know why I like Roxy and not you? Because with her, I can feel true love." "True love?" I laughed. "Roxy riding a modified motorcycle, taking him on wild street escapades, that's love. When he was working on a project in Tibet, I endured altitude sickness to drive hundreds of kilometers to find him. I, who grew up pampered in the Qing family without even touching rice washing water, washed his clothes and cooked for him. That doesn't count as love. Roxy taking him, ignoring scenic area prohibition signs, sneaking into undeveloped no man's land for camping, bonfires, and fireworks, that's love. Previously, when he encountered a mudslide on the highway and was nearly buried, without water or food, phone dead with no signal, I personally flew a helicopter to search for him for 3 days and nights. That doesn't count as love." I scoffed. "Adrian, previously I was too good to you, and the loved one always becomes arrogant. Didn't you say you couldn't feel my love? When all privileges are withdrawn, you'll feel it." Adrian's face darkened, his eyes overflowing with venom and coldness. "Who's afraid of whom? If you want mutual destruction, I'll accompany you to the end." But the next moment, he was slapped in the face. As termination notices snowed upon the Fu family, Vivian tearfully looked up and cried karma, while Harold, unable to accept the successive blows, clutched his chest in a heart attack and fell. Adrian panicked immediately, protecting the unconscious Harold on the ground while glaring at me in rage. "Serena, with our many years of affection, are you really leaving us no way out?" I let out a puzzled ah and spread my hands. "What are you talking about? It's others who want to terminate with you. What does it have to do with me?" Adrian blurted out an accusation. "If it wasn't you instigating, how would they dare?" I laughed and directed my gaze to the surrounding people. Why not ask them personally? Was it me who incited or pressured them to terminate? Those clients spoke up one after another. Miss Serena invited us only to discuss cooperation. From beginning to end, she didn't mention the Fu family at all. It was you who shamelessly attached yourselves. Where do you get the face? We wanted to terminate ourselves. After all, who dares cooperate with two-faced, ungrateful people like you? Still asking how we dare? These years, if not for the Qing family's sake, would we bother with you? Digging your own grave and then blaming others. This family is used to leeching, forgetting their own character. Those sarcastic words and gazes landed on Adrian's face, stinging him until his skin turned red, unable to utter another boast. At that moment, Vivian tearfully grabbed his arm. "Adrian, quick. Send your dad to the hospital. Your dad is almost gone. The doctors resuscitated for over 10 hours to pull Harold back from the brink of death. But due to sequelae, he lay on the bed with trembling hands, lips quivering as he muttered indistinct words. Adrian approached, but Harold slapped him hard across the face. He was stunned, aggrieved and unwilling, shouting, "Dad, what are you doing? Clearly it's Serena bullying us too much, Vivian could no longer hold back and exploded. You what? Isn't all this you're doing? You grew up with Serena, weren't you the one who liked her the most before? How did you get your soul hooked by some little vixen? If not for you protecting that Roxy and getting her pregnant, would our family be like this now?" Adrian's face burned with pain, stunned for a moment. Yes, he had almost forgotten. He used to like Serena. When did his heart change? The image of the pink-haired figure emerged in his mind. Roxy was young, vibrant, and reckless. When he advised safety first, not to ride so fast even for joyrides, she would defiantly shout into the wind, "I'm only 18, this is what youth should be like." When he met clients and was frustrated by their difficulties, she would rush up without a word, grab a wine bottle, and smash it on their head. Then, seeing the client bleeding, she would pull him away in a thrilling, laughing escape. She said, "Life is so short, if not living freely, you'll get old. The world is vast, but I am the greatest, my happiness comes first." Compared to Serena, who was always strategic, she was like a bright spring breeze, awakening the passion in his heart. But now, for this bit of passion, he had nothing left. The successive termination messages shattered Adrian's delusion that even abandoning the engagement with Serena, he could maintain an affluent life relying on the Fu family's current power and status. He suddenly recalled what Serena had said to him before Adrian, "Previously I was too good to you, and the loved one always becomes arrogant. Didn't you say you couldn't feel my love? When all privileges are withdrawn, you'll feel it." He finally panicked, grabbed his car keys, and rushed out of the ward to find Serena. But Serena did not see him. Outside, a violent storm raged. He stood at the Ching family villa's entrance for several hours without seeing Serena. He called Serena and found his phone blocked. He quickly switched to Facebook, and the red exclamation mark that popped up pierced his heart. Adrian thought of all possible ways to contact Serena. He even dug out the couple's space abandoned for ages. He wanted to leave a message for Serena, but first saw that the love tree they had nurtured like naive elementary students had long withered. On the memorial book, their messages expressing love still hung there. "Stinky treasure, will you accompany me forever? I really hope to graduate soon, so I can marry Stinky Treasure. What will our future home be like? Wah wah wah, today it's all my fault," insisting on dragging Stinky Treasure to tree planting day, resulting in him getting rained on and catching a cold. "God, please make him better soon, even if you transfer half his pain to me." As he looked, past scenes emerged before his eyes. Adrian's vision blurred, the rainwater mixed with sourness. The Serena who loved him so much before, who would heartache over him getting rained on, would never be so ruthless as to drive him to death. Adrian fiercely wiped the tears and rainwater from his eyes, muttering to himself. "No, the angrier she is, the more she retaliates against me, the more it proves she likes me and can't let go. Everything she's doing is just to attract my attention, to force me to change my mind and continue with her. Sooner or later, she'll soften." Adrian forcibly comforted himself with this self-deception. He even formulated a plan, thinking Serena must now be anxiously paying attention to his reactions. The calmer he was, the better his days with Roxy, the more Serena would break down. So in the following days, he adopted a posture of waiting for Serena to come begging in tears. He accompanied Roxy on dates, taking photos, looking at wedding dresses, and going to the hospital for prenatal checkups. A journey that originally took only a few minutes, but to let the media capture affectionate scenes of him and Roxy and deliver them to Serena's eyes, he deliberately detoured and dawdled for half an hour. Roxy frowned in the back, her expression increasingly distorted. Pale-faced, she clutched her belly and pleaded, "Brother Adrian, when will we reach the hospital? My belly hurts so much." The hospital examination revealed that the child in Roxy's belly was deformed. Hearing this conclusion, Adrian was completely stunned. He staggered in despair, unable to accept the sudden blow, and leaned against the wall. Turning his head, he saw me appearing in the corridor, arm in arm with another man. I met Ethan while working on a project abroad. His wit, humor, and elegant demeanor left a good impression on me at the time. On the day I returned to the country, he personally saw me off at the airport, looking as if he had something to say. This time, upon hearing I dissolved the engagement with Adrian, he specially came from abroad to find me, to express his feelings. And today happened to be the day we agreed to marry and came to the hospital for premarital checkups. Perhaps the child's matter was too great a blow to Adrian. He didn't notice Ethan walking beside me. In one stride, he rushed up and gripped my wrist tightly. "Serena, it's you again, isn't it?" With reddened eyes, like a trapped beast, he didn't realize how ridiculous his words were. "Did you bribe the doctors to say my and Roxy's child is deformed? To win me back and force me to leave Roxy, you're even capable of such despicable acts." I let out a puzzled "ha," and Ethan pushed him away, protecting me behind him. Adrian, in a fit of anger, roared impatiently, "Who are you? Does an outsider like you get to interfere in matters between her and me?" Ethan showed him the arm I was holding. "I am Serena's fiancé. Do you think I have the right to interfere?" Adrian was stunned again. From childhood to adulthood, he had grown accustomed to the identity of my fiancé. Even after separating from me and choosing Roxy, he habitually applied that identity to himself. But now, with another man standing before him, he truly felt that he had become the past. But he still didn't believe it, sneering with a grimace, "Serena, you're really something, doing a full act, huh? Can't stand me being with Roxy, so you casually found a man to act and deceive me? Otherwise, how could it be so coincidental? I just accompanied Roxy for a prenatal checkup, and right after, you appear with this man?" I let out an even more puzzled "ha," showing him the system page for my and Ethan's marriage appointment. "We came for premarital checkups, you don't think I'm stalking you, do you?" I glanced toward Roxy's position and faintly said, "Although this hospital is under our Chung family's name, I don't have the idle mind to manage what's in your little girlfriend's belly. Why your child is deformed, listen to what the doctor says first. The pregnant woman is too young, and has a long history of smoking and drinking." The doctor gloomily placed the prenatal report in front of Adrian and said, "When this young girl came to our hospital for checkups before, we already reminded her that the child is deformed and suggested abortion. Now, after delaying so long, the child has grown. Aborting now would definitely threaten the mother's life. There's no way around it, even if deformed, it can only be born." Hearing this result, Adrian could not accept it at all. Pale-faced, he looked at Roxy. "You knew early on that this child was deformed? Didn't you tell me you had quit smoking and drinking long ago?" Roxy's pink hair hung down, covering her face. Adrian stepped forward and yanked her hard. "Speak. Tell me what's going on. Why did you lie to me?" Roxy's delinquent temper finally flared. She grabbed something from the doctor's desk and smashed it at his feet. "I did it on purpose, so what?" She glanced at me and said hatefully, "I just didn't want to see you marry this woman. Even if deformed, this is our flesh and blood. I insist on giving birth, so what?" The doctor sighed. "Young girl, being an underage mother is one thing, but why continue smoking and drinking during pregnancy? Since deciding to be parents, you must be responsible for the child." Roxy sneered and retorted, "Responsible? Responsible for what? I'm still a child myself. I'll do what makes me happy. I can't sacrifice my joy for a child." Roxy still insisted on giving birth to the child. She thought that even if deformed, she could use this child to board the Fu family's big ship. But unexpectedly, due to successive blows and terminations, the Fu family ultimately had to declare bankruptcy and liquidation. Upon learning this news, Harold passed away in the intensive care unit. And Roxy ran away, leaving the deformed child for Adrian and Vivian to care for in distress. Adrian's reputation was ruined. He couldn't find a decent job, only doing odd jobs while carrying the child everywhere searching for Roxy's whereabouts. When he found her that day, Roxy was smoking, sitting on that modified motorcycle flirting with a group of thugs. Adrian begged her to come home for the child's sake, but Roxy flung him away hatefully. "Uncle, are you okay? I'm only 18, my future days are long. You, at your age, tricked me into having a child, and now you want to use the child to tie me down and make me a nanny at home?" On the day Ethan and I got married, a news story shocked the entire capital city. Adrian stabbed Roxy with a knife, then holding the infant child, jumped from the rooftop. Upon learning this news, Vivian, unable to withstand the blow, jumped into the river and committed suicide. My gaze skimmed over the news popping up on my phone screen, the corner of my lips slightly curling. Melodious music sounded. I held Ethan's arm and slowly walked toward the wedding venue. Under everyone's blessings, I no longer looked back and embarked on the next journey.